because I just played absolutely horrible, right? Like, I just played so bad. I'm like, I don't have time for this. I don't want to do this. I hate this game. And then I came out the next day, and I had a couple great shots, and I'm like, I'm awesome. Like, I love this game. This game is the best, right? So like, but I think about if we see our profession as a process, just like we see like a club as a, like, you change the angle of a club just a little bit. If you ever golfed, it goes a totally different direction. I'm sure music is the same way. If you play, I'm sure if you hit the drums a certain different way, you're getting a certain different rhythm. I don't know much about it, but I'm sure that it's similar. Like if you do it just a certain way, it's like a totally different experience. And and while it's an art, and there's an art and science to it all, right? So I think that for some reason in sales, we don't take the time to do it. And it doesn't take a lot of time, but we just don't take the time to think about it that way as a process. Does that make sense? That's why I want to keep talking about these 7 steps and keep talking about them, keep talking about them, keep talking about them, because, you know, like we talk about goals and, like, you know, having financial goals and achieving and going forward, and it's, you know, it's all about execution, right? We can know the knowledge, we can have the understanding of the knowledge of what we're doing, but then it's the execution of it, and that's where these 7 steps are. They're so important. So important. Yes, sir.
I think it's so powerful too, because like in anything, it's always the bottleneck is always the prospecting.
Yeah.
Whether it's real estate, whether it's any business that you're in, you know, it's always having more people to talk to, and just so it's like if you can master. And I've never looked at it as 7 steps, you know,
right.
But it's good. I like that you're systematizing it, and I know it doesn't have to be in sequential order, which helped me.
Yeah.
But I think the better we can all get at prospecting, that skill carries on with you wherever you end up going.
Yeah.
And if you can get really great at that, I mean, name a business. Everybody is bottlenecked by what they have coming in the front end of their process.
That's right.
You know, it doesn't matter if you're great 3 steps down the process. If you can't get people in your funnel,
it's so true.
It doesn't matter, because you will starve.
That's so true. You will starve, and no matter what level that we're at, too. Like even for myself, right now I'm calling CEOs.
So you're prospecting for something
different. But I'm still prospecting. Right? I'm in a recruiting conversation. Still, it all has to do, and the psychology is almost the same way. I was on the phone with the CEO of Redex, and he's like, well, you know, we usually don't do joint venture deals. We just don't do it. And I go, hey, look, I totally respect that, and I understand, because you got to be careful of, you know, who you're partnering with. But if you had something that could help increase your retention rate, and I forget exactly, help increase your retention rate, and your clients saw extreme value in that, and even sometimes upgraded, that would make sense to do, right? What is he going to say? He said, yeah, and now he's looking at it.
Yeah.
Because how could he not look at it? Because I'm taking put myself in his world, right? And so what is I know my problems. What problems does he have? Well, he probably has similar problems. He has agents signing up to this database. They're not prospecting using this database tool, right? So they all cancel 3 months later, right? So I think that's a great point, Jamie, to what you're saying, is that that it's such an important skill for everything that we do. And I just want to encourage us to see it as something a little bit different than just going through the motion on a call. And I'll end with this, and then we'll get into some role play. But I'm over in the Advantage department right now, and I'm in the trenches, and I love it, because they're all challenging me. I'm walking around like, let's get appointments, we gotta hit the goal, let's do it. And they're like, oh well, yeah, take my headset, and I did it again yesterday, and it's so fun. And I'm not saying this in any sort of braggadocious way, but she's an SDS. She says, go ahead, see if you can get an appointment. She was complaining about the data on the account. And I go, okay. Make long story short, first call came in. The guy said, I'm not selling, or it's off the market, you get this all the time, I know you guys get this all the time. I'm off the market, I'm not selling. And I said, okay, and I think probably a lot of people would have just ended the phone call, right? I'm not selling. And I just asked him a simple question, say, would your mind change if you got the right offer in the next 30 to 60 days? He goes, well, what do you mean, do you have an offer? And I said, I don't have an offer, but I explained where I'm calling from, I explained the situation. And then he goes, well, you know what, I might entertain selling, but the problem is I don't think I'm gonna be able to find what I want. Then the conversation totally changes. I did a live transfer, I didn't know the technology. I'm like, oh my gosh, you gotta transfer. So I'm gonna get on Convulso right now, because I don't know what I'm doing, right? And so she transferred over to Brittany, and then Brittany got the appointment on that, you know what I'm saying? So I was having a lot of fun with it, but I'm thinking back through it, and it all just came down to, all just comes down to these 7 steps.
I have 2 points.
Yes, sir.
One thing you just said a little while ago.
Yeah.
You put yourself in their world.
Right. Yeah.
That's what they should be doing.
Yes.
It
That's a huge part of building rapport, right?
exactly. But you actually, you said, I put myself in his world.
Yeah.
How could he say no to me? Because
Right.
you understand. The second thing is that how many people take something like
Yeah.
this and do a self-evaluation after each call? You should have like a little checklist. And just rate yourself 1 to 5. Oh, I did a 3, okay, next call, I'm gonna do better.
Yep.
And you'll be surprised, and it'll change because you're talking to different personality every
Yes,
single
every
time.
call's different.
But pretty soon, when you got all 4s and 5s, it don't matter who you're talking
That's right.
to. And that's when you've arrived.
That's so good, Ron.
So,
Yeah.
just,
That's so good because there's only so many different circumstances you're gonna run into.
yeah,
So once you get to the point where if you're doing 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 5.
and it'll stop the insanity, doing the same thing
Yes.
over and over again and trying to get a different result.
Yeah.
You just keep changing until you get the right result.
That's right.
So,
And what's really great too, it's a lot more fun to self-reflect than to be coached by somebody else.
yeah, and you could go like this. I give myself a 4.
Yeah, that's right, no one has to see it,
Yeah,
right?
really.
You know what, I got a 1 on that one, that one was
But
horrible.
you know something, you're gonna get evaluated because you're doing so well.
Yes.
And people are gonna want, what are you
Then they're
doing?
gonna wanna know what you're doing.
What are you doing?
Oh, you mean like when I have to send calls to Zach like every day?
That's right, that's right, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
That's exactly it, because you're getting really good, man.
So we're doing this forever.
What's that?
We're learning this and we're
Forever.
gonna keep going forever.
Forever,
See, I like that.
it'll never stop.
I never did it, like, you talk about the circle. never
Yep.
did it. You know, I always call it Groundhog Day, over and over
Yeah.
and over again.
That's right.
And the best thing, which I never did much, I mean, a lot of things good, is I always forget the back up and take a look at the whole picture.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's why I really, I enjoy this.
good,
I mean, one
That's
day
good.
I realized, I know, a couple times I've been super busy and.
that's
you know,
okay,
but-
yeah. Look, if we can help, we wanna add value any way we can, we know you're out in the trenches and you're trying to make it happen, so if we can help any way, we want to, so.
I said last week when I left here and I had to go from my operation, not because I had to go from my operation. When I left, we were deep into the, conversation, the role plays.
Mhm.
I felt bad because I had to leave. I didn't want to leave. And that was my number 1 thing for
Right.
the week. I didn't want to leave. I was really enjoying myself listening and learning.
Awesome, man.
It's good, so we're gonna do something a little bit different, I wanna play a video on, and maybe we'll end a little early here, but I wanna start showing you guys some of the videos that, so hopefully you're gonna be hearing the same themes, we'll find out, but I think it's one thing to hear it from like us just sitting in the room, but it's another thing to hear it from agents that are have gotten really good in the force of the owner and expired niche. So the first video we're gonna play is by Suzanne Murtha. Oh man, we don't have speakers here, do we?
Can you play it through the TV?
I don't know if Techie can we? Can you help me? Tech Master.
Let's turn up
Is there 7 steps for tech? Because if there is, let me know about it.
Wait,
I wanna learn them.
Just turn up the volume.
I wanna learn them,
Just
please.
turn up the volume on the TV.
Oh, well, probably. Thank you, Ron.
No, Jamie just said it.
You should see Ron on Monday morning, he's got the whole thing set up, running.
I'm like a producer.
It's really amazing.
Jamie's impressed every Monday.
Oh, I,
Cecil B. DeMille.
Day Suzanne's been with us for a couple of years now and has shown a high level of proficiency for converting on our leads. And so she's going to share some best practices in just a second. But before we get started, Suzanne, I would like to put you on the map for anyone that.
So if you see me skip around a little bit, it's because I don't want you guys to have to sit through information that's not relevant to you. So, because some of it's based on other things going on in the company, so.
Area. I've been in the business for 15 years and have had everything from a 14-person team, we did a very, very high volume, to now we have a smaller team here in Charlotte that is just rocking it. We are the top listing agency in, listing team in South Park, which is right in the center of Charlotte. And we love it here. So we've been doing a fantastic job at keeping our clients super, super happy, and loving all the referrals that we've been getting. So it's been fantastic. It's been really, really fantastic.
Suzanne, what's a good contact number? Maybe a little bit of a biased opinion, but I would absolutely recommend Suzanne.
Because I feel like these sellers really have a comfort level knowing that you're not the agent that they're going to be meeting with. So they have a little bit more of a relaxed perspective of, they can really
Just talk about our
present to
intro,
them and
how
speak to the
intro
way
works.
that they will listen. So are they a driver? Are they analytical? Are they expressive, where they want to know who they're talking to? This is a really simple thing I can know before I even walk in the door, so I can properly prepare. Another thing that I think is fantastic is they're more willing to.
So she's just talking about their knowing the personality that you're dealing with.
To tell you why they were unhappy with their last agent and why they think their house didn't sell. So is it the agent's fault? Is it the pricing? Is it something that happened? This is really important to know going in, because these people have been listed sometimes for 6 months without results, and you kind of want to know that going into it. So that's just my opinion of just some of the really gold nuggets you can pull out of the recordings that give you an edge when you're going in. I'm not the only person going in. Other agents are calling on these sellers. So they have they have already heard feedback from other agents typically, and I want to have that edge and know what I'm walking into so I can go right for the listing.
So Suzanne, it sounds like the importance is twofold. One is you're getting a read on personality type, which is going to help you with mirroring and matching and knowing how to communicate with the individual. And then two is you're gathering intel. You're figuring out what their motivation is. You're figuring out what their frustrations are. You're figuring out a little bit about their life circumstance, which is now going to give you ammo going in to have your conversation prepared and know what angle you're going to come in from.
Absolutely. And this is going to save a lot of time so I can hit the major points of what they need to hear from me of why I'm going to be able to get the job done.
Perfect. This is great feedback. Moving on to our second question here. Regarding confirming appointments, there's a variety of schools of thought here. We found across the board as a best practice, agents that get the most listings from our leads tend to skip the confirmation call and just show up at the rescheduled time. Can you speak to your experience? You've been with us for a couple of years. We've sent you countless leads over the past few years. And in your estimation, why is it important to just show up, don't bother with the confirmation call, just go out there with the appointment schedule?
Yeah, I mean, these are people who haven't been successful. I'm talking specifically about expires first. These are people who haven't had success. So there's one trepidation sometimes of having to go do this again. They know why you're coming, so a lot of them hesitate. They don't want to make it a priority. So calling them or contacting them beforehand just gives them another opportunity to cancel. So I don't do that. I show up, and sometimes they forget they're supposed to meet me, and if they're there, first of all, they feel bad, and they scurry to kind of try to hurry up and get their house like in order that they can. But most of them do remember, and most of them are present and aware that I'm going to be there. I have to tell you, it's like whenever you meet with a seller, their fear is that they're going to have to go through 6 months again of listing and not getting sold. So any opportunity that you can give them to kind of put that off, they're going to do. So I just skip right over confirming and just show up. If they're not home, I leave them a handwritten note on the door to say, hey, I showed up for our appointment, I hope everything's okay. I mean, it happens once in a while, it's gonna happen, no matter who sets the appointment, sometimes people are just
What's
gonna forget.
Sound familiar?
Or mix up the days or the times. And so that handwritten note, I'll follow up with a phone call or an email, and typically they'll feel bad that they weren't there, and then they'll be even more accommodative to me to do whatever they need to do. So it actually gives me the edge, because now I have some leverage over them to say, hey, you made me come all the way out there, like, I wanna meet you now, and they'll be like, okay, I'm so sorry.
Knowing you, you do that in a very nice and very friendly and very kind of open and accommodating way.
Yeah, well,
So she says that she gets, like, out of every like 10 appointments she goes out on, like 3 of them aren't there. And she says probably 2 out of 3 she ends up getting as a listing because they feel guilty that they
Oh,
weren't there.
sure.
And so she stays in touch with them because because they're kind of like, she's staying in touch and she's staying in front of them and they feel a little bit guilty. Her follow-up, like we were talking about, is so good that she ends up getting an extra 2-3 listings a month from us because of her follow-up.
Sure.
Yeah.
What-
She's
so-
such a strong follow-up.
So a note like, I showed up for our appointment, I hope everything's okay. I'll give you a call to follow up.
Yeah, hey, look, I hope everything's okay. Please call me and let me know what's going
So
on.
ask them to call you.
I used to say, I'm concerned for you, everything's all right, I was here, I'm happy to come back, but I will call you a little later, just to
There you
make
go.
sure you're okay, and reschedule. You know, a lot of empathy.
want to call them
Yes.
out that they forgot, so that you have that leverage, but you also want to leave the door open so that they don't feel terrible that they don't want to ever see you or talk to you. So,
Good
my
one.
thing is to say, goodness, are you okay? I just want to make sure nothing happened to you. Please just let me know that you're all right. And sometimes the ones that are more afraid to kind of
She's a good
face
agent, she just knows it.
listing the property again,
I'm a phenomenal
will call
agent.
me and just say, hey, you know, I forgot.
Of course.
I'm not really sure if I want to, and it gives me the dialogue.
Phenomenal.
To kind of
Good.
call them back, to remind them that I listened to the recording. I know their motivation, to remind them why they wanted to meet me first.
That's powerful.
So,
So because she listened to the recording, in the letter or in the follow-up, she reminds them about their motivation.
Yes,
Like as throughout the
right,
process.
she knows them.
goes again to listening to the recording to say, why did these people want to meet me in the first place? So-
Right, this is some great feedback, Suzanne, because I know from talking with other agents that we work with, one of the biggest concerns and the reason why people don't skip the confirmation call is they want to make sure that the person's there when they show up. They want to save themselves the drive time. And then in so doing, if they get blown up by an objection on the confirmation call, they could lose the opportunity altogether. Whereas your strategy is about you show up, you know what you're walking into before you show up. On the off chance that they're not there, you leave that handwritten note, you still build that emotional connection, and then the key is you follow up with them and you continue the dialogue and continue to rein them back in. Am I catching all that?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, one thing I do on a new call, if for some reason I got the feeling in the audio that this person might be one of those that doesn't show up, I will make sure that I plan, I know Tony Robbins calls it net time, where you have no extra time, so you're saving phone calls that you can make, 4 or 5 minute phone calls on the way to that appointment, so that I'm not losing any time. So the only time I'm losing if someone doesn't show up is the 5 or 10 minutes that it takes me to knock on the door, to call them, I text them from their door to say, hey, I'm outside, just want to make sure you're okay because you're not answering. And then I'll give them the out later after I've left and said, hey, just touch base with me and let me know everything's okay. But I get the hour back that was blocked off my calendar. So there's no time lost for me except the 10 or 15 minutes that I've knocked on the door. So that's and I'll wait around for a few minutes and I'll make some more calls. So for me, it's worth it. Sometimes I'll even stand outside the car and I have a license plate that makes it known that I'm a realtor. Sometimes even I'll get a neighbor that'll ask me what I'm doing, why I'm there. What about the value of their house? That's actually happened to me, where I ended up talking to the neighbor too.
You're out.
So,
You never know.
if you plan to use your time efficiently, you don't lose any time. You actually gain back time, the 45 minutes that you have if for some reason they don't show up.
Awesome. This is, again, great feedback, Suzanne. Moving on to our third question. Going back to the recording, how do you adjust your presentation based on what you hear on the audio recording?
Yeah, that's a great question. Okay, so I'm gonna stick to expireds for a moment, because expireds and for sale by owners are gonna be very different. For sale by owners typically don't know or don't value a real estate agent. So it's gonna be a complete.
What was the word used?
Value.
Yeah, because remember, we were like, oh, commissions, like, I don't wanna pay commission, so it's not to do with the commission, it's that they don't see enough value in using a real estate agent yet.
Different presentation than an expired. And what I love about the expireds is that they've already raised their hand and said they want to sell. They've already gone through all the things that they were told to try to sell. And something happened that they weren't successful. So you have to play detective to find out what exactly happened that they didn't sell. I'd say probably 60 to 70% of the time it's price, but sometimes it's just that the house was mismarketed. Sometimes it's that the seller really truly wasn't motivated. So adjusting your presentation, again, if you listen to the recording, the seller will tell you what they need from you to list their house. So that goes back to listening to the recording, it goes back to showing up and being present. So listening to that seller, qualifying them, really qualifying, asking them what their motivation is, asking them why they're moving, where are they moving to. Knowing those things is gonna help you keep their motivation going throughout the listing period, but the presentation should be tailored to exactly what they need to hear. I don't ever go over my hour that I spend there because I am going right in for the listing. I'm not going there to make friends with them and sit and talk about the baseball game for an hour. I'm going there specifically to list their house. And if I come from a place of caring about them and wanting to help them with that, then the presentation will follow exactly what they need to give them. Sometimes it's spending 30 minutes on them understanding where their house is placed in the market so that they can see why they were mispriced. That is probably the most common thing I adjust in my presentation is the last time they didn't understand why it was so important to be competitive, or they didn't understand of why their house should be differently priced than the house 3 doors down from them. This. Well, I have to be able to, as a professional, explain that in a way that connects with them and shows them why a buyer is going to pick a different house over theirs, and show them how to competitively place their property so that it's moving. And this will help them and me in the long run get the house in the contract.
That happened to me yesterday.
So what I'm hearing from you is,
So I went and met Barb.
Yeah.
Right, so this woman, Barb, who was a PDL, I don't know if you remember her, it was a long time ago, anyway. She expired, her place, they had it up for $89,900 last fall, okay, and it expired. And I went in, I did a CMA, and anything in her, there's like 2 different style apartments basically in this, it's down by the river. Anyway, anything that's sold in the last 12 months is selling at $65,000.
Right.
Okay, there was a couple outliers like that were like granite and all redone and everything there until like the 90s or, so I showed her, the CMA, and, she was really, well, she was really, how do I say, grateful for it, but at the same time doesn't know if she's gonna sell the place now, because she paid like $110,000 for it, just however many years, a few years ago, because she paid way too much for this place. And, she was saying, after doing the CMA, Ron and I talked and said, well, probably $74,900 for 3 weeks and then bring it down to $69,900. And she wanted to be like in the mid 80s. You know what I mean? That's what she wanted to get. And she didn't argue with me about it at all, cause the number, I even showed her what's on the market right now, not what's closed even, I showed her what's still even available. And then she realized, like she just said, she realized what the reality of the situation was, but that actually caused her to think, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do now, because it's not what she thought she was gonna get a lot more. So, anyway, so to that point of showing them the CMA and like explaining what their house is really worth. The only thing with me is that well, I'm glad we did it, because I honestly don't think I would sell it in the 80s. It wouldn't sell. So
Dated too.
it's not like up to date, you
Right,
know?
it'd be
So,
different if it was up to date.
Oh, yeah.
so she started, so the whole conversation shifted. It was part of the conversation, but it shifted to where she's gonna go from here. And because she couldn't afford to buy something else, okay, she's an elderly woman, because there's nothing out there, we looked, there's nothing out there. And then secondly, so now it's an apartment situation, but we started looking online, but she wasn't really sure where she wants to go. And I stayed there for a while, like helping her with some stuff, but she needs to do some more soul searching of where she wants to go. But, so anyway, it went from the listing to where are we going from here, and I tried to help her land on a solution, but she just needs more time.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it happened just yesterday. She expired at 89.9, someone came in and I told her, I go, listen, the next person may come in behind me and tell you can do it. I said, this is for you, I left it as CMA, I said, these are the numbers, Barb, you can
Right.
read this is what's actually happened, and she appreciated that,
That's good, that's
so.
really good. Ron, would you take it at like 83.5 and then with contingency that she drops it after a couple weeks?
If she would give me a marketing plan and drop it $5,000 every 3 weeks until we're back into the 60s, sure.
Okay.
I might do something like that.
But only if they're open to it.
Yeah, she had it on the market in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it was last year,
89.9.
89.9, never got anything.
Nothing.
And when you're looking at that whole complex, what they're selling, and the ones that are selling in the 60s are updated more so than hers is.
Right.
So it's like, okay, if she was the only one in there,
Yeah.
maybe, but she's not.
There's so much evidence.
Yeah, and she paid, see, the sad part is, when she bought it, she paid cash, no appraisal, she paid too much. Yeah, and whoever sold it to her saw her coming.
There's 7 on the market in there right now.
Yeah, there's so much competition,
So.
and
there's-
some are nice,
Yeah,
real nice.
so anyway.
So if she had a view of the lake,
Right.
she doesn't. Did she have any view? Did you look out the
Courtyard
windows?
view. It was a nice place, and
Yeah.
it was dated, it wasn't as dated as some of them,
Yeah,
but it was still dated, but,
well, they selling there even in the 40s. I see them,
yeah,
you know, so.
so, anyway.
The friendship part, which she's talking about, I'm not there to be friends.
Yeah.
I mean, that all the way around it, just in that it's just,
So what's interesting about how she said it though, because and this is what Ron will talk a lot about too. And I used to always think of when I was first trained in sales is to think about rapport as like, I have to get really good at talking about sports and I have to get really good at talking about this and that, and whatever it may be, or else I'm not gonna be good at sales, right? And, what it really is it's really showing that you care about their situation and you're able to find common ground within their situation. And that's kind of what she's saying, is she's not there to talk, well, she's not there to learn about the family history and whatever it may be. If that comes up, maybe and the conversation goes that way, so be it. But she's there to help them solve a problem. And she's what she's so good at, if you can tell, she's so good at showing empathy. And she's really good at getting herself in their world and letting so it's not like she's coming in like some brute, like, you know what I mean? Like where she's trying to bulldoze over people. But she understands her purpose and she understands that they have a problem and she can solve it, basically. And so and that's her mindset. Does that make sense?
Her conversations are
Yeah, no,
meaningful.
Yeah.
They're meaningful conversations.
Meaningful conversation.
Not chit chat.
Yeah.
It's meaningful conversations. She's drilling down, trying to find out how do I need to help these people. And she's there with the confidence, with the totally focused, no emotion in the transaction, but she's having a real meaningful conversation with these people as a professional. And that's what she can do,
Well, I understand that.
yeah.
Yeah,
I understand that.
I would say even in a relationship, even like with a referral, we gotta be a little careful. I think it's the 80-20 rule where maybe 20% is just, hey, how's your cousin, how's this, how's that?
Well, it's kind of like the situation you dealt with, you
Yeah,
know, and you didn't like that they were so personable and didn't treat it like a business transaction.
he did not treat, yeah, and there's been a couple instances with people that I know, they've actually did not treat it like a business transaction. They treated it, they were very sloppy with me. Very
You know, when
sloppy.
you said that to me,
So,
the first house I ever bought was a two-family in East Rochester.
Yeah.
Bought it through my wife's, their
Right.
wife's sister and her husband.
yeah,
They just got their licenses and everything.
mhm,
It was the worst freaking thing I ever went through.
right,
And at the closing, I had to come up with another $8,000 because I assumed a mortgage and the
Right.
MIP was reimbursed and I didn't know I had to do
and it
that.
would have been different. if you-
Sloppy.
Yeah,
That's why I went into the business.
that's right.
I says, if they can do this, I can do it better.
That's right.
And make that kind of money.
That's why I got into
And
it.
I says, I forgot about that.
Because, I don't know if you remember Wilfred,
Yes,
that was who my experience was.
really?
It's not like he's a horrible agent,
No,
but it was like,
They get comfortable.
yeah, it was just a comfort. It
Yeah.
was just a comfort thing. So we gotta even be careful with referrals. Like, we get too comfortable and we don't give the best service to the people we know sometimes. Because the relationship's there. It's like this human nature thing, you know, but
or we go the other way,
other way.
too protective.
Or we're too protective.
Yeah,
That's
and that's even
yeah,
bad.
That's right, because we don't tell them what they should, we don't consult them. what
Right,
they-
or we're just as emotional as they are
Right.
and nothing's getting done,
Right,
you know?
that's right. So it's just seeing it's seeing it as, it's a business transaction. You know, you're helping them, they're hiring you. Friend or not, they're hiring you, period. Does that make sense? So,
Right, no, I
yeah,
understand, I understand. Well, I get a lot of people that call me because they trust me, even if they've met me a short time.
Yeah.
I bought a car from this guy who doesn't know my family. He just called me, he said, what's like, about 17 acres, 11 cottages.
that's
I
awesome.
have a little, and he wants me to, you know, just to be, I have to go through it, but he trusts me. I mean, so,
That's huge.
I mean, I understand what you guys were saying,
Yeah.
but I'm saying talking wise, I mean, show them that you know what you're saying, you know, professional, so we trust you, but yet, sometimes I do try to get a little bit, you know, personal with them and stay close, like,
There's nothing wrong with
There's
that.
nothing wrong with that.
okay.
Yeah, well, that's what, yeah,
If you have the trust there,
yeah.
you know, but you have to be aware, they trust you, so keep earning it. Don't stop earning that trust,
Mhm.
because once you stop, now you're sloppy.
Because I told you the other day, client, my very first client ever, it was in my very first sale, I mentioned that to you, right, Ron?
Mm-hmm.
It was an estate, a foreclosure.
Yeah.
I just happened, and the other people chose to know me because they knew my family. I didn't know them personally, but they trusted me.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting a dual agency. My broker was, overseas, $10 a minute to talk to her.
Wow.
The house got broken into, brought the sale back together. We told the police they were gonna come back. They staked it out, they robbed it while the police were watching the house again.
Wow.
They got in a fight, pulled it back together, and then they
Wow.
couldn't find for the mortgage, they couldn't find it because the builder is the one who was holding the mortgage. So it took them an extra 3 weeks, and in that amount of time, I actually called, you know, the guy for the foreclosure and extended it. And because it took so long, they ended up foreclosing on it.
Wow.
This client called me the other day, she's leaving the state, just to say hi and wanted me to let me know that she's leaving the state. And that was the worst thing possible could happen.
Yeah.
But she still trusted me enough to call.
That's awesome. And, but was it because you got to know about her dog or her family?
No, it was because I did everything right.
Right.
And even the police officer said the only one I've been bad for is you. I
Yeah.
went through everything.
And
I
that's
even showed the police where there was evidence that they left. That they left the bag there. I mean,
And that's what we're talking about, is that you did a really great job from a professional
Right.
standpoint.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
yes, I understand now,
Yeah.
better.
Yep.
Thank you.
And there's a balance. It's not to say that we're dehumanizing the process. I hope that message isn't coming across like, that we're not trying to dehumanize the process. If you get too friendly, sometimes it can actually hurt the relationship.
Cause you focus on too much talking about what you're not.
That's right. I've had great rapport with people, you get so much rapport, and then they just blow you off. They don't treat, so what happens is, if they feel too comfortable on a personal level, they don't take you seriously either. Right, so it goes both ways.
I wanna be your friend, Isaiah, but I don't wanna do business with you.
You're right,
I'd rather be your friend, you're more fun,
that's right,
you know?
that's right,
I don't wanna be their friend.
yeah, right.
I wanna do business with them. I have no friends. I know, everybody's business, even my wife is a business.
I
Oh
like that,
boy,
Ryan.
is that a,
I like
oh boy.
It's a great way of thinking.
Oh boy, I'm not sleeping on the couch. Oh
It's a
boy,
great way of
that
thinking.
came out wrong.
Hopefully she's not watching.
It's a great way.
Hi, Mrs.
On
Mazda.
that note, on that note,
Yeah,
so
that
what
note.
are some takeaways for this conversation?
I just think she's amazing. You know what I really love about this agent, that she not only has her act together, she believes in what she's doing, and just her confidence, and she's so smooth, so confident, she doesn't have that going on, she's talking to you, you know, she's great to listen to. How can you not like her,
Yeah,
you know?
Mhm.
And that to me is a super agent,
Yeah.
man.
that's right.
Yeah, 10 of those around, you know? Jamie, you're almost there. Angela, oh, I'm not sure.
I got the phone call, right? I thought, listen, I'm scared to be on the phone.
What's that?
After that, you know, we did the talk that day on the phone, I totally flubbed it up.
Yeah,
But I was thinking about it, I had to go out in the parking lot, and I had to think, I always think. I says, I'm not scared to be on the phone, I've done phenomenal jobs with other people.
yeah,
I got anxiety, and the anxiety took over, I was choking, I didn't know what to say, I was like, what I'm not.
Yep. And that's totally natural.
okay.
I'm
Stage fright.
I'm one of the best.
Stage fright.
It's totally natural.
Yep. Anyway, anybody else?
Yeah, no, I love, again, her demeanor,
We'll finish it up tomorrow.
yeah, you can tell, like you're saying, you can just tell why, you know, people connect with her.
Yeah.
It seems like she really cares, you
Yes.
know, about what she's doing,
Yep.
you know, and people can smell that 100 miles away.
She don't care about she don't care about the commission. It'll come.
Right.
She don't care about it. It'll come.
That's what happens. She
Yeah.
gets so many follow-ups, she gets so many callbacks because
Yeah.
of that approach.
Yeah.
She gets a lot of listings on the spot too because of that approach.
Sad part is not every agent's like her, but they could be.
Mm-hmm.
They can be in their way.
For the prospecting side, I think it also relates with like, the future ops, like not pushing people too much. You know,
Right,
like the
yeah.
early age FISBOs, like when they're 2-3 days, and they're like, well, I wanna at least try it on my own first. Okay, I'll call you back in 2 weeks, better yet, I'll have my partner call you back in 2 weeks. And then it's like a 50-50 opportunity, if they've already sold it, okay, that'll happen, you know, if they sell it within a week, there's nothing we would have been able to do about that anyways.
Exactly. Quick story on that, because this is so huge. Huge for prospecting and follow-up. So I got on the phone, this guy he was doing, I forget his name, but he was prospecting for Samantha. And I walked by, he's like, I say, this guy just hung up on me. And Samantha's like, I'm trying to tell him to call him back. You know, I'm trying to tell him to call him back. But he won't call him back. I'm like, why don't you call him back? He's like, why would I call him back? He hung up on me. And I go, well, maybe because you weren't just speaking to his motivation to find out what was going on. He goes, well, he said he had an offer. I go, do you know for a fact it was a solid offer? He goes, no. I go, give me that headset. Call him back. So we called him back. I said, sir, sorry we got disconnected. He goes, no, I hung up on you. And I go, okay, well, my apologies. I think we got off the wrong foot. And I asked why he hung up on me. He goes, you weren't listening to me. And this wasn't me, it was, so I'm like, you weren't listening to me. And I go, oh, okay. I go, so what I heard you say is you got a solid offer, or you got an offer. Well, my question is it solid? Are you 100% confident that offer is going to go through? In the same situation, he goes, no. And I go, okay, do you have a plan B? Do you have a plan B? He goes, I'll tell you what, just call me back in a week. And if it's not sold, I'm interviewing agents in a week. It's in my plan to interview agents in a week. What just happened there?
Just instantly build rapport, and if it doesn't go through, you have like an instant way in.
Right, so it went from like a hang up to we have at least a strong follow-up in a week. And now we know he's actually gonna be interviewing
Yeah.
agents in a week, he actually has it in his head.
And have his driver's office, he thought he did.
Right? So the strong offer, but he's actually has it in his head, he's interviewing agents in a week.
I think the offer made him do that. I think that he got that offer and he's pissed about that offer.
Right,
That's right, or he doesn't
Yeah.
understand it.
right, or it's not going through. or
Right, something's happening there and he's just, the hell with this.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of appointments doing it that way too, with the early age for sale by owners, like I called a guy that had just put it on that day, it literally said less than a day on Zillow. And then he was like, yeah, you know, I haven't got any offers yet, but I at least wanna try it for sale by owner for a couple weeks. And he was leaving out of town in like a month,
Mhm.
so instead of calling back in 2 weeks, I called back in a week. And I was like, I sold that, you know, how's everything going, did you get any offers? He's like, we got one offer, kind of like the situation you were saying where it was a lower offer.
Right,
You know, I was like, are you interested in at least talking about it to see if we can help you get it sold? I mean, you're moving in 2 weeks. You know, if you could get it sold sooner rather than later, isn't that better? And then I live tweeted it and Mark got it face to face for Medina.
that's awesome,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
If you like actually play to what they're saying, it helps a lot versus trying to just push something down their throat. Now they don't wanna talk to you at all, which is probably what happened. They probably just kept going and
Kept
going and
on trying
going.
to push it down their throat, yeah.
Here's one more testimony of that. So there was an appointment that I went on Peck Road.
Mhm.
And they wanted to try it on their own. So I've been following up with them. And so I called her last week. And she said, well, we're just getting it up and we want to see what happens. So I called her yesterday. It was a week later. And I said, hey, how's it going? You get any action on this house? You know? And she said, we actually have someone coming Wednesday night and this and that. I go, that's great. I go, good for you. I said, you know, if you can sell it yourself and not pay the commission, that's great. Good for, and she was like, yeah, you know, we're trying. I said, well, listen, can I give you a call back next week and see what's going on? And she's like, absolutely, yeah, definitely call me back because, you know, we need to sell this. You know what I mean? So like, I'm continuing to stay connected with her. It's a nice property. And so, you know, if they get an offer, great, but they probably won't.
And if they
So-
don't, it's an easy.
So, yeah, so. I'm
If they get
really
one, it'll be low.
Following up with her and, so anyway, and I think she's really appreciating that. It's again, the trusted advisor, like, hey, listen, that's great. If you can sell it, great. You know, and then next week, if it's not sold, I'll say, all right,
I throw that UVP at her though.
they know about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we went through all that, you know, what I mean? But he,
That's good.
Oh, that's he wanted to see you, but she's
That's
in
it.
control.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
so,
He was ready to talk to Jamie, but she said not yet.
Interesting.
so anyway, I just, to your point,
That's great.
But you're smart talking to her, not him,
yeah,
because she obviously is the decision maker.
yeah. So we'll see. So next week, if it doesn't happen, so I'll say, listen, you know, I can call you, I can call you another week, or I mean, again, if, you know, you say you want to downsize, but go to the pain motivation.
I would call her, I'd call
Keep
her
back and keep that.
Thursday and see how the Wednesday appointment went.
Yeah.
I'd
My
call her
favorite
Thursday.
appointment is the day after the showing.
Yeah.
How the point, I just wanna know how the appointment went. Did you get an
Day
offer?
after the showing.
And she'll say probably no.
Like, oh, I'm doing a
Oh.
showing this weekend,
Okay.
cool, I'll have Mark call you Friday,
Sound like
schedule
you're sad
something
for
for
her.
Monday, and then, you know, we'll at least
I'm
have a
telling
plan
ya.
B to
I'm
go
telling
over his
ya.
offers.
Yeah, because if that showing didn't go well, if the showing didn't go well.
They're gonna jump into your arms.
Yeah, because it's really like, you know, holding an open house and, you know, they hold an open house, like, if that open house didn't go the way they wanted to, and there's only 3 names on their list, they might start saying to themselves, maybe I should look for an agent,
Yeah.
you know? So catching them.
Then Mark calls him on Monday, and it's like, how'd the open house go? And then they're like,
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I only had 3 people come by. You know what, at least talk with Bill.
Yeah.
Let him show you what to do at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And it's just like, sure, have him come over right now, you know?
yeah, that's right.
She's out.
All right, guys, let's have a good day.
Heavy
All right.
gal.
Yeah.
So,
Andrea Noto.
Actually, if you, 3 of you can hang back for a minute.
Yeah. Just tell her hi.
Wanted to catch you guys up just on some of the things that are going on, so, did you guys see the, Facebook Workplace yesterday? Okay, so did you guys catch the little bit of a shift that's happening with the vision?
Yes, that, we talked.
Yeah, we talked about that, the account managers
Okay.
and stuff,
All right.
the branches.
All right.
You talked to us about that, I think we fired
I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
Mhm.
that. So Ryan and I are kind of tag teaming, so I forget everyone. So it's ILP, and then everyone else that's over here too. And I think RAP 1, okay? And, so we're doing something kind of fun, we're having a little bit of a team, we're having a team competition, so there's six SDSs and 6 ADs, and I believe that's RAP 1 and ILP. But anyway, Ryan and I are going to win. We're determined to win the competition, and when we do, basically, everybody gets a $200 bonus in their check, and then like it or not, you're stuck having to go out to eat with us, so, after we win. So, we'll go out and celebrate and have some fun, so.
Is this to the end of the month or?
It's just till the end of the month, so yeah, so there's definitely some sense of urgency behind it, for sure, because, we got there's some other good teams out there, but we got, you know, obviously you guys are awesome, and, I think we got Jay on our team, you know Jay?
Oh, yeah, he used to be on ILP with us.
Mhm.
Yep,
That was back when we were rocking it out.
yep, yep, Jay's on our team, anyway, I'll send you the list of everyone that's on our team.
So it's just RAP 1 and IOP?
Now, question, you know how you were saying like account managers are gonna be taking live keys for them when they're out for a day or something
We're
like that?
supposed to be up.
Who's the account manager for us, cause Mark's out today?
So if Mark's out today, then what you're gonna wanna do is look for Ryan. Or I would say as a backup, I would say why not look for Jay as a backup for now?
Jay,
Yeah. We're still getting it solidified, and
Right.
Ryan are kind of fill in until we can identify the next account manager, so.
so Jay is an account manager now? Or
No.
Oh,
No, just for helping out. So if Ryan's not available,
right.
then I'll look for Jay.
And then, as far as dream team stuff, do you want me to just like PBL it and like maybe have Jamie call it right back if it was like live
Yeah.
transfer worthy? Cause
Or,
like,
you know what you could do? You could live transfer.
I say, but
Well, what we're doing is one of the